It's always exciting when established franchises break the established mold and try new things, at least when it works out. Of course, some franchises are more suitable to that sort of experimentation than others, thanks to their very nature. To that end, here we're going to take a look at 10 franchises that could do well with spin-offs that head in significantly different directions from what they might ordinarily be known for. A survival horror Gears of War game. Gears Tactics was a resoundingly successful experiment in an unfamiliar genre for Gears. But as most series fans would tell you, there's just as much potential, if not more, in the idea of a survival horror Gears of War spin-off. It's a series that has often flirted with horror elements, especially in its early years, and were it to double down on that, it could work out rather well. Imagine a slower Gears game that is more focused on horror, where you're far more vulnerable and far less armed, with a core gameplay loop built around everything that survival horror games are known for, like ammo scarcity and resource management. In the hands of the right development team, something like that would be a treat. A Pokemon MMORPG. A Pokemon MMORPG is something that literally millions have been crying out for years at this point. It's a series that seems almost tailor-made for a persistent MMORPG model, where a new Pokemon and regions get added into the world over time, with frequent raid events, PvP integration, PvE content in the form of gyms and story quests. Sure enough, Temtem has proven that Pokemon-style MMORPG can indeed be done well. Whether or not it's an idea that's too ambitious for the series, or perhaps one that doesn't align with what the Pokemon Company wants to do with the franchise is another question. A Monster Hunter-style Horizon game. A Monster Hunter-style co-op action RPG set in the Horizon universe makes almost too much sense. Horizon Zero Dawn already had plenty shades of Monster Hunter, given the fact that we were often hunting machines for specific components needed for upgrades, and Guerrilla could easily double down on that in a game that emphasizes that side of the experiences. Meanwhile, all the different kinds of weapons that are available in the game could be morphed into specializations and classes of their own, also similar to Monster Hunter. So players could choose to play with spears, hunter bows, sharp shot bows, rope casters, rattlers, slings, and so on. Seriously, make it happen, Guerrilla. A multiplayer The Last of Us game. This one is basically confirmed at this point. The Last of Us multiplayer mode, Factions, was a surprisingly addictive and well-made experience, and attracted a far larger player base than most would have expected, and for quite some time. When Naughty Dog announced The Last of Us Part 2 wouldn't have multiplayer component, the developer said that Factions would return in the future, while recent job listings have clearly stated that the studio is currently at work on its first standalone multiplayer project. Clearly, The Last of Us Factions, or whatever it ends up being called, is coming, and we're excited to see how Naughty Dog will expand it into its own full-fledged game. A Mario Maker-style Zelda game. Zelda fans have been clamoring for something like this for quite some time. The Super Mario Maker game deserves all the praise in the world for the way they handed players all the tools and they need to make their own Mario content. Having a game that does something similar and allows players to easily make their own Zelda dungeons would be the dream scenario. Sure, the Switch remake of The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening tried its hand at something along those lines with its dungeon creator, though fans would obviously prefer a full-fledged and far more feature-rich version of that game. Another co-op Resident Evil game like Outbreak. For some reason, Capcom keeps trying to make PvP work in Resident Evil, and even disastrous failures like Umbrella Corps doesn't seem to dissuade the company. Fans of the series, on the other hand, have been begging for a co-op game in vein of Resident Evil Outbreak, and Outbreak File Number 2 for years at this point. The duo of PS2 titles holds a special place in the hearts of Resident Evil fans, and a new game that employs similar ideas and blends them with the more modern sensibilities of recent RE games would be a dream come true for many. An open-world Gran Turismo arcade racer. We all know why this one is here. Yes, it's a bit of an obvious pick given the success of Forza Horizon, but it's one that we can't help but dream of. Gran Turismo has conquered the world of hyperrealism, authenticity, and fine-tuned simulation time and time again over the years. But while that train keeps on chugging along, why not let the series branch out and try different things at the same time? Similar to what Forza did. There's clearly a massive audience for more easygoing arcade racers like the incredible Forza Horizon 5, and we'd love to see Gran Turismo trying its hand at something like that. A Star Wars fighter. It's shocking that we've rarely ever had a good fighting game based on Star Wars. It's a property that has all the elements in place to enjoy incredible success in the genre. There's a bevy of beloved and iconic characters that could fill out a massive roster of playable characters, each with their own movesets, while there's a similar goldmine of locations to tap into to make stages. Put all of that in a game with a solid online, throw a chunky campaign in there, and you have legitimately excellent Star Wars fighter. In fact, you know what? Give it to Arc System Works. Maybe they'll do with it what they did with Dragon Ball FighterZ. A choice-driven Red Dead action RPG. Red Dead Redemption 2 already placed quite a lot of emphasis on player choice. And sure, the impact of choices had on the game's story and the way it played out is negligible compared to what you see in other choice-driven games. The point, however, is that there's clearly potential here for choice-driven storytelling. And how cool would an action RPG with third-person shooter combat set in the Wild West be? Of course, given the fact that Rockstar is at a point where it's unrealistic to expect anything but a single massive release from them once every few years, it's unlikely that we'll see experimental titles like a choice-driven Red Dead RPG anytime soon. One can always dream, though. A single-player The Division game. For a series that has always been this focused on its online multiplayer aspects as much as The Division has been, it's strange that there's this much demand for a single-player entry. Of course, those who've played any of the two games will tell you it's not hard to understand why that is. The Division's world and setting are inherently engaging and have plenty of storytelling potential that could flourish in a more focused single-player adventure. Combining that with the RPG mechanics and tight shooting the series is known for could make for a very successful little experiment. That's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. These are some pretty rad ideas. We'd love to see them come to fruition. Hey, if you like this video, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the like button and drop us a comment in the comments below. We'll see you next time, guys, on Gaming Bolt.